Все, уже спать. Нельзя.
How's it going, everyone? It's me from your favorite bird-watching show. Today we're going to take a look at Bracky's Game Jam. Yes, the top-rated games and some of the games that you made right here in our little community. This year's theme is Stronger Together. It's going to be fun. Grab some coffee, milk, or algorithm juice, whatever your favorite beverage is. And remember, if you made any of the games mentioned in this video, don't take my criticism too seriously. I kind of have to give my opinion on the games, otherwise there's no point to me making this video. Let's have some fun, let's not be too serious, and let's do this. On the 10th place, we have Companion. You wake up in a strange lab where a little droid follows you around. Your mission is to escape the lab. With the help of the robot, you can find clues, which basically lead you out. Personally, I find that this was maybe slightly too short of an experience, but there's definitely potential. Once you figure out what to do, it's pretty straightforward. But I'm gonna have to give this an A+ for the graphics. Super impressive for such a short game jam. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Next is Hex Isles. This one is super interesting. It's a puzzle game and right up my alley. You guys know I like puzzle games by now. You have this orange stone block which you can move around on these hexagons. I think they're hexagons. If there aren't, then make fun of me in the comments, please. You can move this little orange block around and your goal is to get to the flag. The twist here is that the stone blocks need to always stay close to each other, otherwise they turn into stone, which is supposedly how these islands formed in the first place. I really like this. I really love when there's a bit of a backstory to a game, even if it's simple like this. This is definitely one of my favorites. Next on the list, we've got Conductor. Your goal is to follow these red circles that appear on the screen. The visuals are really cool. I don't feel like it played well with the theme, Stronger Together. I don't really see how that ties in with this. And also the gameplay for me was a little simple. You just basically click on the circles. That's just my opinion. The visuals and the audio, however, is great in this game. So, and yeah, judging by the score, yeah, exactly. Audio and innovation and graphics, yeah, I agree with that. But still, the audio and the visuals were strong enough to take home the 8th place, which is pretty impressive. As a number 7, we've got Death Blind by Coach Drifters. It's a zombie apocalypse. You are 2 guys and you're supposed to survive. And this might look like your standard survival shooter, but what makes this one interesting is that the characters always face away from each other, basically covering each other's back. And each have different weapons, so you kind of have to rotate your characters to use the weapon that you want to be using in a certain situation. The visuals are really impressive. I love the pixel art. For me, it was just too hard to control the guys, like with both your hands like that, and then the fact that they rotate around each other. I just, like, my brain just...
Je suis en ce moment à Phuket, en Thaïlande, et j'ai une révélation pour les investisseurs. Regarde ça. Tous les commerces là derrière moi, tout ça c'est fermé. Et j'étais dans plusieurs endroits de la ville, 90% des commerces sur le tourisme.
I'm probably just too stupid, but I really like the concept. I love the idea that they have each other's back. On 6th place, we've got the Bendy Strawman Beach Volleyball. This is probably the only game where I forgot I was reviewing games and I ended up just playing the game, feeling that addiction creeping in. It's pretty simple, but you basically, it's like volleyball with these stick guys. You control each character with WASD and the arrow keys. I found myself getting really into this game. I wanted to win, I was losing, and I couldn't help but feeling that I wanted to play again and again and again. Better and win. This is one of these simple games that are just fun, and it really felt like when I was losing it was my fault, not the game's fault, and I think that's always a good sign, and it really makes you just want to come back for more. I think my only criticism of this game was that about 90% of all the shots, the ball just bounced back in my own court. A few rounds the AI just ended up playing against itself for an entire round until it eventually lost against itself. Apart from that, the game is awesome. This is definitely one of my favorites. This is seriously cool, and I suggest you try it out. On 5th place, we've got Already Dead. You're a group of survivors, and you press the number keys to switch between characters. You have a set of objectives that you're supposed to do, and you gotta fight your way through alien monsters to get to each destination. Personally, I was not a fan of this one. I found it to be a little frustrating to switch between characters. The controls were a little frustrating, and I just ended up feeling lost. I think limiting the characters to maybe 2 or something would have made it feel a little easier. Also reducing the amount of aliens. I found that it just got overwhelming way too quickly, and maybe an easier tutorial level to start the game off with would have helped this a lot, because I felt that I was just thrown in and it was just way too difficult. Next, in 4th place, we've got Solo Band. You take the stage and your goal is to gain fame, and the way you do that is by killing monsters on stage. And when you gain more fame, you get more band members to join your group, which essentially is like a weapon upgrade. It gives you more firepower. The game was satisfying, and I could totally see this being like an infinite shooter. And the only problem for me was that the upgrades came way too frequently. And that in itself is not a bad thing, but the problem was that the game paused and forced you to choose an upgrade, which in the end turned into a little bit of a frustrating experience, because I felt like it was pausing the game too frequently. I would probably say make the upgrades automatic. Don't force me to choose, and just add members to the band as I'm playing instead. I think that would keep the flow of the game. Otherwise, it's great. Taking home bronze as a number 3, we got Soulscape. I didn't really understand this game, I'm gonna be honest. You zoom around with this little guy. I don't know, you can dash and you can shoot enemies. However, I had a hard time seeing the enemies because they're black dots. I would have probably made them a different color or given them eyes or something like that. When you kill one, you absorb a soul, and your goal is to make your way through this maze. But I had a hard time navigating the maze, and it was pretty difficult. The graphics are great, the controls are awesome, everything feels really nice. I just think I didn't really understand what my goal was. That might have been my fault though, I'm not sure. It's a twin stick shooter, and if you like that kind of stuff, I do think you should try this game, because it feels really nice.
Hey video creators, with Envato Elements you can create better videos. How?
Yeah,
With
sure,
unlimited
great.
downloads of new
Just didn't get it. I'm too dumb. I'm sorry. Anyways, next we've got on a silver plate, we've got Hadron. It's like physics and stuff. Here I'm going to give a solid 11 out of 10 for the graphics. It just looks so good. The pixel art with a retro look. We've got on a silver plate, we've got Hadron. It's like physics and stuff. Here I'm going to give a solid 11 out of 10 for the graphics. It just looks so good. The pixel art with a retro look and the chromatic aberration. You're basically a little thing, and you have 3 quarks in you, and you use the quarks as ammunition. So you shoot them out from yourself, but the problem is if you run out of quarks, you can only survive for a short period of time, and if you take any damage, you die. So there's constantly this tug of war between being conservative with how much you're shooting, but also you gotta take out the enemies pretty quickly, otherwise you get overwhelmed. I definitely recommend you try it. It's super polished. It feels like a legitimate game. And before we go to number 1, I'm just gonna do an honorable mention, which was my favorite game of this jam. It's a game called Paul's Cube Roll. I really love puzzle games, and this one was quite unique because I've never really seen anything like this. So basically you roll around this 3-dimensional cube, and your goal is to touch these little yellow pads. There are these blocks placed out in the level, and anytime you touch one, you merge with that cube, and that becomes part of you. It's really important to merge properly with these cubes to sort of allow you to make your way through the level. The graphics are so beautiful. It just feels like a finished game already. This one definitely takes home the Ponty Algorithm Juice prize, okay? As a number 1, the gold medal, the winner is Team TGA. This is way above all the other games. I definitely think it deserved number 1. You're basically a team of 3, and your mission is to infiltrate a mansion and steal a briefcase. Each member of the team has special abilities which you need to use in your advantage in order to steal the briefcase. If you're a big fan of Hitman, then this game is definitely for you. We have to run around and restart the level several times, find little clues, and strategize a way for you to finally execute a plan and steal the briefcase. It plays well with the theme, definitely deserving of the first spot. So just my general thought around the game jam. I think the biggest problem for me with most of the games in this jam, including my own game, I just feel like it didn't really hit the stronger together. It was more like too weak alone. I don't know if that makes sense. It might sound like the same, but okay, hear me out. Most games required you to sort of unite or do something with another character, as in stronger together, in order to finish the level. But then that makes me feel like I'm not stronger together. It's necessary to be together. But one game that I really felt hit the spot on the stronger together was one of your games, Chickens Run. So it works like this. You're a group of chickens and you run around shooting these dinosaurs. And when you shoot dinosaurs, chicken eggs are dropped on the ground, and then you can pick them up to increase the amount of chickens you have. And as you increase in size, more chickens are shooting, making you stronger. And then if you take a lot of damage, obviously you can end up with just 1, 2, or 3 chickens. And you're definitely weaker, but it's not impossible. Really reinforcing this stronger together. So for me, this was a clear winner on the theme. It's just one of those things that really remind me of old like tower defense games. Once you've been playing a level for a long time, you're just so powerful and you're just mashing down these huge hordes of enemies. It's just a satisfying experience. That was really nailed in this game. I really like this one. It was one of my favorites for sure. Some other games that were made by you guys were My Little Light. I'm not going to criticize your games because I just, it doesn't, no. So, My Little Light, the little side-scroller platformer. I love the art of this, super nice, like a Hollow Knight, kind of a dark theme, moody. I mean, you guys know how much I like Hollow Knight, unless it wasn't obvious. And then we've got, from our very own Discord mod, M in Space, we've got Sharing Soul, the game where you have two bodies but only one soul, and you have to transfer the soul in between the two bodies to reach the end of the level. Speaking of Discord, if you haven't joined our Discord already, well, go join. It's really fun. We've also got Untitled Gerbil game where you have to collect these gerbils, push a button, and reach the end. Hopefully I didn't miss your game.
Если вы работаете на дяде и вас это устраивает, это видео не для вас. Пропускайте его. Меня зовут Владимир Дмитриева, я инвестор и предприниматель. Несколько лет назад моя жизнь перевернулась. Я приняла для себя решение, что больше не буду тратить свою жизнь на то, чтобы работать за копейки и ездить на работу в 9 утра. Я открыла для себя схему бизнеса на посуточной аренде квартир. Сейчас в моей компании 35 квартир в управлении, мы снимаем их помесячно и пересдаем посуточно в 2 раза дороже. Это приносит более 1 миллиона чистой прибыли в месяц. А если вы хотите начать зарабатывать на доходной недвижимости от 100 тысяч рублей уже в ближайший месяц, тогда скорее регистрируйтесь на бесплатный мастер-класс «Как начать бизнес на посуточной аренде квартир» за 7 дней без собственной недвижимости и стартового капитала. На вебинаре я вам докажу, что эта схема работает в любом городе, если все делать правильно и по шагам. Сразу после регистрации вам в Telegram на почту придет PDF-план пошагового старта бизнеса.
Я ничего не понимаю о деньгах, понимаешь?
Okay, next.
Ну или очень
Mindless.
мало. И это опасная штука, потому что они отличаются от того, что тебе кажется правильно, но нет, отличаются от тебя просто не все.
Blue. Okay, now that I've been criticizing all these games, it's time for me to play my own game, and you can leave me comments saying how bad my game was. It's okay, I can take it. Bring it on. By the way, okay, I've also updated the game. I've also made it available in browser, which means that if you're on Mac or...
Ну, мне как бы деньги как таковые, да. Ну да, когда-то времени, вот когда это твоя жизнь, тогда да. С одной стороны, а с другой стороны, она тебе что, нужна, что ли? Да? То есть, когда тебе она, как бы, есть какой-то план, да, типа того. Ну, это неплохо, потому что тебе же еще, ты же как бы, все равно тебе по-любому надо эту жизнь как-то, что-то делать с социумом, как бы, взаимообмен какой-то, правильно? То есть, ну, это нормально, как бы, это оно же есть добро, потом ты скажешь, да-да-да, я мел полы там, где-то там, возле каких-нибудь, да, понимаешь, участвовал в каких-то процессах, на могиле твоей написано. Так что это вроде как нормально, да, понимаешь, но ненормально, да, то есть все равно тебе придется, чтобы, да, понимает он тебя, и ты еще будешь этим гордиться и радоваться, понимает он тебя, я не шучу даже, да. И это самое позорное, вот как я как мужик, я чувствую себя как хер знает, наконец, он меня понимает, да. Ну, вот так вот, да. А, это я такой, да. Ну, у нас, да, сидит такой, познакомься. Ну, ладно. Ну, наверное, посмотри.
Or Linux, you can now play the game. Yay! And I also fixed some of the levels that were a little bit too difficult, like, you can now play the game. Also made it available in browser, which means that if you're on Mac or Linux, you can now play the game. Yay! And I also fixed some of the levels that were a little bit too difficult, like level 10. Oh, if you got stuck there, it should be okay now. Like I mentioned, I did some tweaks to the game that's currently on itch, so it's a little easier, but I'll be playing the version that was uploaded to the Game Jam because it seems more fair. It's a more difficult version, so I'm going to show you what the intended solution for each level was. Hey guys, I'm just editing this video, and I realized that this video is already too long. We're just going to make a separate video playing through the whole game, and I'm going to unlist it, but there'll be a link in the description, so if you want to check out the solutions, The link will be there. Anyways, this was my first game jam. I had tons of fun. It was one of the best experiences ever. Definitely gonna do it again. Before you go, don't forget about the Google algorithms. You know what to do. Hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Sure.
This is Walter.
Good morning, Walter.
He's a guy that's been at the job longer than anyone.
Good morning, Walter.
He stopped trying, and now he just kind of gets in the way.
Hey, Christine, I need that report.
Coming.
When he shows up, productivity slows down.
Goodbye.
Walter, damn it.
And we just can't have that anymore.
No, Walter, please.
It's time to say goodbye to Walter. And say hello to his replacement, QuickUp, the all-in-one productivity platform.
Have a good weekend, Walter.
Goodbye, love. Goodbye, sin. I'll be that voice
Goodbye, Walter.
Ладно. Нет, нет. Да наоборот.
Хотите сдать IELTS в этом году для того, чтобы переехать за границу, улучшить свои перспективы по работе или учиться в западную вуз?
Hey!
Today we are talking about punch a bunch.
Punch bunch, punch a bunch.
Punch bunch.
Punch a bunch?
Bunch.
You're waiting for it, you're waiting for it!
Come on, give me.
Bang, bang, bang.
Oh my goodness, bro, this is so cute.
Why can I walk?
Ooh, absolutely revolutionary.
You dummy.
Punch a bunch, or like, sucks a bunch.
Hello, welcome back. Last week I released a demo for the boxing game I'm currently making for the first time, and I had no idea what to expect here. But since I put it up on itch, it's had almost 5,000 downloads. It's just crazy. So many of you left super valuable feedback, and some of you even recorded yourself playing the game. So today we're going to look at your reaction to the game, the things you liked and the things you didn't like, and maybe even fix some of those things. I may also have a highly requested little surprise gift for you all, so stay tuned for that. I've been developing this game for a while now. Things have changed a lot since I started this project.
Что такое?
So I think this is also a good opportunity to give you a more overall update on the game in general. Like what the future looks like, release date, features, and so on. But I'm super excited to see what you think of the game, and a bit nervous to be honest. So let's kick the episode off with that. Okay, let's do this.
Okay, here we go. Okay, let's see this thing.
So I remember from the videos that I can use this to lean. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the player is very nice and wobbly. I like that.
I kind of thought that the right stick would control the camera, but it controls the upper body. I guess that's something you can get used to.
The controls are kind of tricky to get into the first time, but I'm getting the hang of it slightly.
The control is like, it feels good. The controls feel pretty intuitive. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that feels satisfying, I have to say.
I can definitely see myself buying this game on Steam, which, by the way, you should go wish list.
Okay, so for my taste, the camera is way too slow.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Why do I walk around?
Certain elements already feel, to me, better than like what Fight Night would have done.
There's a little bit more to say without playing
Better than like what Fight Night would have done.
There's a little bit more to say without playing against someone.
I love the colors and the look and the feel.
I like the floppy feet.
Подумай, сколько времени ты проводишь на ютубе? Можешь ли ты выделить всего 2 часа в день не на просмотр роликов, а на удаление?
Fair enough. Согласен, да нет, блин. Вот. Что такое? Облака, синеватые облака. Нормально, ребят. Ну, мне просто он там идет.
Okay, so I've watched a lot of you play Punch a Bunch. Thank you so much for taking the time to download the game, play it, record. It's so much fun to just watch you play and just see your reaction as you're picking up the controls and just getting a feel for the game. Because I'm going to be honest here. I did not expect this to go so well. At all. Like, this is the first game I'm making ever, and I honestly expected quite terrible feedback. But you guys seem to actually like it. So, yeah, I'm just... I don't really know what to say. Alright, so the first thing I noticed is that some of you picked up the controls really quickly, but for most of you it took a bit of time to kind of get into the groove of things. Most people felt that punching with the right hand was pretty natural because you lean with the right hand and punch, and because leaning is so connected to punching, it felt natural. But then punching with the left hand felt like a disconnect because you had to lean with the right hand but punch with the left hand. So some of you suggested here to have the punch buttons be on the face pad, like these buttons instead. The problem is that if you lean with this, I mean, you can't really push these buttons at the same time, if that makes sense, unless you play like some sort of strange... I mean, we can make it an option, but I think we still need to make this work somehow. Initially I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do some big changes. It's not intuitive, people are struggling, and we need to fix it. However, as I was watching you play, it quickly became pretty obvious that even just 10 minutes in, you started getting used to it, and it seemed like it wasn't as much of a problem anymore. Now, obviously, making the player comfortable immediately is super important. But personally, I really enjoy games where mastering the controls is like part of the challenge. A game like QIWI is perhaps taking this to the extreme, but Bennett's later game, Getting Over It, is a great example in this. I don't know if you played it, but in the beginning, it just seems almost impossible to play, and just getting over that first tree is like infuriating. It seems impossible. But then as you get the hang of the controls and you kind of understand, it starts getting easier, and then when you come back to the beginning, start wondering what was the big deal about getting over this tree. For me, that's like a really satisfying experience when you feel like you really mastered the controls. But so, back to the punching. If you're used to playing the game and you want to perform a specific attack, you kind of have muscle memory to do it, it's very important that that actually happens. You definitely don't want the controls to feel random. However, a problem I have with most fighting games is that even if the player is just randomly pressing buttons with clearly no intention whatsoever, the character on the screen is still executing perfect attacks. In a completely random order, of course, but they're still perfectly executed. This is where I'm trying to do something different with Punch a Bunch. I want you to have to practice the actual punches of landing a good strike, that it's not just like press X to perform a perfect jab. I want the game to be more about intuition, about feeling the character, more than just memorizing button combinations. Personally, I kind of like the idea that you can actually miss or perform a weak hit if you don't coordinate it well. So watching you guys learn and play actually makes me think that we're in a pretty good spot with this. Now I understand that some people may not enjoy this, but I just feel like if I'm going to make it just like the other fighting games, then how am I standing out from those games? I mean, I'm not saying that the game is perfect. There's obviously a lot to work on, and we'll get to some of your other feedback as well, but I just want to kind of mention that. It's not necessarily a bad thing that the controls are different from other games, because I think that in the end, that's really what it's all about, right? We want to make something new.
The camera is way too slow. What happens to me is I want to use the right joystick to counter-adjust the camera.
I do agree that the camera is probably too slow, but making it too fast might make some people nauseated by playing the game, which we definitely don't want. Definitely the most obvious solution is to just add a setting for how fast the camera moves, but Jonas had a really good idea for how to solve this problem.
Maybe you can also find a way to maybe allow me to rotate the camera. I guess the D-pad would be a way to do it, right?
Now, I do think that Punch a Bunch is probably a little bit too fast for you to want to drop your movement control and just hold down this button while the camera moves. So I did a quick test here with a slight variation of that solution. So instead of you moving the camera, you just simply press up and it just resets the camera. So this way, if you kind of like the slow camera movement, then that's more comfortable, but you want to move around the opponent quickly, but then reset the camera, you just pop, click the button.
Fancy, fancy. I'd like to tell you that story. Okay. Как вот это есть мист, мисап, вот это есть мистер. Фу. It's quite important.
And you're good again. And then obviously a lot of setting for the camera speed as well. The huge thing I'm noticing is the game is pretty laggy on weaker systems. People try to play in 4K are getting some really bad frame rates, and people with slower machines are just not having a good time at all. I just want to say that I've spent zero effort on the optimization of the games. Like the shorts are what, like millions of polygons. Whoops. I'm definitely going to do some optimization down the line, don't worry. I mean, it's a pretty simple looking game and it should run fine on most systems. So we're going to deal with that, just not right now. There's also been quite a few comments on Discord and YouTube about running out of stamina too quickly.
Oh, look at how tired I am.
What I'm thinking to solve that problem is that I want to add an adrenaline feature in the game. So basically, when you land a hit, you get a little bit of an adrenaline boost which replenishes your stamina so that you can instantly hit again without running out of stamina. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I feel like it might make it a bit more dynamic than just reducing the amount of stamina each hit takes. And then we also had like one or maybe two comments about wanting mouse and keyboard support, but I don't know, it doesn't really seem worth it to me. Like, not enough people wanted it, so... Ah! Okay, get it! You want mouse and keyboard support. I know a lot of you don't have a gamepad. I mean, come on, this game is designed for a controller. Like, you lean with this thing. How are you going to do that on a keyboard? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay, fine. I'll try. Just give me a while. I got something. So I tried making it so that the mouse basically leads the character, and then you punch with the left and right click. It's, I mean, I don't know. It works, but I don't like it as much as a controller. I gotta say, it's just not as. I mean, maybe I can work on it, but make it a little bit better. But I just don't know if I should release this. It just doesn't. I don't know. For me, it doesn't really give a great representation of the game and the feeling that it's supposed to be, but should I release this? Do you want to give it a try, or? Okay, fine. I guess we'll do this, so that the no-controller people as well can try. But before I do, I'd like to say something. This right here is my friend Mike. See, when you guys were complaining about the lack of keyboard support, you want to know what Mike did? He went like, oh, finally a good enough reason to buy myself an Xbox joypad. So he went online and picked himself up a sweet controller just to play Punch a Bunch. Now, if that's not a good enough reason to end up on the epic pegboard, then I don't know what is. Mike, welcome to the club. You deserve it. Toby, this is not the right size. It's too small. Didn't you get? I sent you the template. You didn't get the template. Okay, so, okay, well, Mike, sorry, it's Toby's fault. Okay, whatever. For this new updated version of the demo, I want a bit... bit further and created a menu so that you can now pause the game and adjust your mouse sensitivity. While I was in there, I also added a setting for the camera speed. And alright, so definitely if you're on mouse and keyboard, you want to hit escape, adjust the sensitivity to work for you. You're probably on a different mouse speed setting than I am, so it's not going to be the same for you as it is for me. I'm just going to set this to 20, maybe 20, by 20. Yeah, 20 is pretty good for me, but yeah, just adjust it until it feels right for you. So you can switch between gamepad and mouse and keyboard by just pressing tab. For those of you who do have a controller, it would be really awesome if you gave it a try as well, so that you can kind of compare and see how you feel with controller versus mouse. Should we keep mouse and keyboard support, or should we scrap it? Let me know. Okay, but as far as the demo goes, most of you were really positive about the game. Obviously, I know that this is not really a game. It's just you're just punching a dummy, and it's not really that fun. But considering that and how positive you guys were, I'm feeling really optimistic about the game, more than ever. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the future of Punch-a-Bunch as well. This game started out as a little mini project. I was planning on working on it for maybe 6 months and then just release it. Yeah, that worked out well. To be fair, I was only planning on making it super simple with just local multiplayer and nothing else. So we kind of did do that. But the fact that so many of you were excited about the game makes me feel like I owe it to you guys to make the most of this. So in terms of features, online multiplayer is probably one of the most requested features, which obviously would be great. And you know, if there's going to be multiplayer, it has to be online. I actually just got this course, it's Ben Tristan's course on making multiplayer games in Unreal Engine. So I bought it and I just started watching it. I haven't really gotten far at all with it, but I'm hoping that I'll get some information there so that I hopefully turn this game into multiplayer. I mean, obviously it's going to be a huge job to turn it into an online multiplayer game, but we're definitely going to try. We're not quitters here. Another thing that I'm really excited about is creating an AI for the game and create like a single player thing. Okay, so that sounds really complicated, and it is, but hear me out. So initially I was thinking about running like some sort of neural network and like training an AI to actually play the game with the same controls as you play with, but I quickly realized that that's just probably not going to work out that well. I'm not smart enough to do that, and it just seems like a bad idea and something that wouldn't really work out. So I started thinking about alternatives to this and how we could make a single player game without complicating it too much. And so that brought me back to Super Punch-Out for the Super Nintendo, where you basically go through different leagues and you fight specific characters, and each of those characters have like a specific thing about them. Like maybe one is like really small and fast and you just have to block and counter, and then another one could be really, really big, where if you even take a single hit, you're down. But maybe they're really slow. And that way you can just sort of make very simple pre-programmed boss fights out of all of them. I'm actually really excited about this, even more than training an AI, because I think this could potentially add way more personality to the game with having like different looks, different characters. So what about release date? Well, I'm determined to release this game in 2021, no matter what. Like if it's early access or full release, that doesn't matter, but I want it to be released, available to you in some shape or form, 2021. This all seems like a lot of work, and that this might seem kind of impossible, but that brings me to the next part of this video, which is YouTube. So far I've been aiming to make devlogs every week, which has been successful sometimes and not so successful other times, but you kind of enter a mode where every week you're just trying to make progress with the game that would make for a good devlog. And so far that's been actually really great because it really pushed me to make progress on the game every single week and like really trying to push the game forward so that I would have something to make a video about. But I do feel like the game is at a point right now where it maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense to try to cram new features into the game every single week just to make a new video. Maybe the best thing to do right now is to spend a couple of weeks or 3 weeks on just fine-tuning the controls and really nail that down so that it's solid. But that obviously would make for a very interesting video. So I'm going to reduce the amount of devlogs I'm making and make sure that when I do make one, they're really good and there's good updates in there for you. This way I can actually make faster progress on the game, and I'll also have time to make other videos that I'm super excited to make and that I think that you're gonna like as well. I think this is kind of a win-win situation. We'll have better devlogs and also other interesting videos. Okay, so to play Punch a Bunch on mouse and keyboard, just head over to itch.io, download the new version of the game, and you're good to go. Remember to click tab to switch between gamepad and mouse and keyboard. I'll put a link in the description. And